Okay, we're back. So we were talking about
The wedding.
your wedding.
Yeah. I remember coming across a copy of the menu at our wedding with the cost.
Oh wow.
And we had a very lavish chicken proper full course meal for $6.75
Per person?
per person.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Plus
And that was what year? When were you married?
19. You were born in 57?
Yeah.
56, I think.
$6 and.
$6.75.
Wow.
Of course, liquor was extra.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. But that included dessert and everything, full course meal.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. A little different now.
Yeah.
And did you honeymoon or did you?
Well, I wanted to. I had done a lot of research, and I wanted to go to Mexico and do a little tour. And everything was. I had gotten everything all ready to go, and Dad said we didn't have the money. So we wound up going to New York City for our honeymoon. That cost a lot more than it would have Mexico, but I think that it was just too different for him, and he couldn't handle that. I was much more adventurous than he was. Yeah. And then we went to Baltimore because we were close to, not far from New York City, and saw some of his relatives there.
And did you both want to have kids right away, or have a?
Yeah, I was 25 at the time, 24, 25, and Dad was 4 years older. And there was really no reason to wait. He was in real estate and doing reasonably well, and I wasn't fond of working. I hated being in an office. I did not take well to that. I liked my freedom, and yeah, it was very quick, a little quicker than I thought.
So when you got married, did you move out right away, or did you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Dad was in real estate, and he was working on a section of housing in Scarborough. And he had a chance of buying one of the bungalows, very reasonable. And of course, he didn't have to pay the commission and all the trimmings on that. So we decided we would move to Scarborough.
Okay. Do you remember the street that you lived on?
I'll remember it tonight at 3 o'clock in the morning. It was at Midland and Kingston Road. That's the intersections. And it was a corner house, very much like the bungalow I'm in now.
Well, if you remember of it, let me know. I would like to go see
by
it.
and have a look.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So you moved to the house in Scarborough, and then shortly after that, I was born?
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me about that. Tell me about me as a baby.
Well, you were not a well baby. You had tonsillitis, and you used to run a temperature once a month for about a week.
Whoa.
And then I found myself...
Was that like from an ear infection, or what was
the throat.
Okay.
Yeah. Throat, ear.
Interesting. Jason had the same thing.
Yeah, that was a little trying time, and I was out in Scarborough where no Jews around, and nobody that I really knew. And I remember once your Bernice Binstock took a taxi and came out and let me sleep for a little bit.
Give you a little rest.
She was very good, yeah, but none of the family was close by. But 6 months after you were born, I was pregnant again.
Randy.
Yeah. So that was, yeah. And by a year, we had your tonsils out.
Did that improve my health?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, that did help a lot. Yeah, but that was a really rough time, and you had allergies for quite a while.
Sickly.
Quite a while. Well, you improved a lot, but the allergies, we used to go for injections. I'm sure you remember that.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, and yeah, once the tonsils were out, there was a big change.
So what was my personality like as a kid?
Oh,
growing
you were
up?
adorable.
Of course.
Oh, loved you to death. Loved you to pieces. Yeah. When we moved here, you were a year old. Randy was, what, 6? He was a few months
Yeah.
old. And I remember, especially during the winter, I have a picture where we are in Randy's room, and he's in his big crib bed, standing up and watching us. We're sitting on the floor playing a game. So that was a way to entertain you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you had your own room. And then as Randy got older, you shared a room.
So, and how was Randy as a baby? Was he healthier than I was?
Yeah. Yeah, he didn't, he just didn't sleep.
Oh, okay.
Well, both of you were not good
Not great
sleepers at
sleepers.
that time. So I used to walk from one room to another. It was not a fun time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I became pregnant with Marcy. You guys were 4 and 5, I guess, at the time. And I remember sending you off to day camp. And on the bus, and you would come home and you would say to me, "Ma, he embarrassed me." Why does he embarrass you? Because he sleeps on the bus.
Did I
He
have a
sleeps
list?
all the time. He embarrasses me.
Did I have a list?
A little bit.
Really?
Not, well, I couldn't entertain you
Yeah,
properly,
yeah,
but
yeah. Yeah, as a
you
little
know,
kid.
as a 5-year-old kid.
Yeah, so we went to day camp and
Yeah.
he was tired at the end of the day, so he fell asleep. And,
Yeah.
Yeah, embarrassed me.
Yeah,
That's funny.
yeah, yeah. It was so cute.
And how were we like as growing up as brothers? Did we play with each other? Did we
Yeah.
fight? Did we?
Yeah. No, the basement downstairs was not finished, so you had a huge area, and you used to play musical things,
Yeah.
like drums.
I remember we used to pretend to be the Beatles and
Yeah.
play on suitcases or
Yeah.
luggage or whatever.
Something,
like that.
yeah, yeah. Whatever you could find to
Yeah.
whack around, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But there were a lot of kids on the street at that
Mhm,
time,
mhm.
so in the summertime, you were out playing with the
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah,
But-
so I remember being able to, run around, play hide and seek, and all sorts of
Yeah,
games.
and hide in the ditch,
Oh yeah, I
because the
guess
street
before-
wasn't paved
Yeah,
at that
yeah.
time.
That's
I'd
true.
look out the window, I can't see my kids. All of a sudden, a head would come out of the ditch.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
how was I as once I started to go to school? How was I as a student? And
You were very attentive. I never really had any problems through the early school years. Randy did have a learning problem. So we had taken, in those years, they didn't have the experience that they have nowadays.
Yeah.
So they told us, we went to someone and he said, have him skip rope and do this and that, which didn't make any sense at all. But, and then we took him for tutoring one summer. But he had his difficulties with learning.
then, so then you said then you got pregnant with Marcy.
Yeah.
So tell me about that.
I was thrilled out of my mind when I had a little girl, because I had, after 2 boys, I wanted a girl. And she was an absolutely adorable, sweet loving baby. Very easy to handle, very, very easy. Once she became closer to being a year old, we realized that something was not right. She couldn't sit properly, and she wasn't advancing the way she was supposed to. I had asked my doctor and pediatrician, and he said it was because she was a chubby baby. She would be a little slower.
Okay.
That was not sufficient for me, so we went to, somehow we got to see a neurologist, and he found out that she had Tay-Sachs. He could tell by looking at the pupils in the eyes, and he could see that there was something in the brain.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that's when we found out. But we wanted to verify it because it was so rare at that time.
Mhm.
Nobody, my doctor had never seen a case. So we went to Baltimore to the big
John
hospital,
Hopkins
John
or something?
Hopkins Hospital in Baltimore, and had it verified that she did have a Tay-Sachs. And usually those children don't survive too long. She lasted till she was 2.5. I had her at home till she was about 1.5 years. And in those days, there were no social services. So I was pretty well on my own. I had to phone and find out, looking for a nursing home or someplace where she could be looked after, because I knew eventually all her faculties were going. She could not see, she could not hold herself properly. And I found a wonderful place in London, Ontario. It was a London psychiatric hospital, but they were willing to take her. And she was there for, I don't know, 6 to 8 months. And I took you kids there, I think twice.
I remember going at least once.
Yeah, yeah.
It seemed very far.
It was, well, it was, yeah, it was far.
2.5 hours, whatever.
Yeah.
And what did we think of it as kids? What did we know?
You didn't really talk about it. You didn't want to talk about it. You knew she wasn't well. I had a major breakdown when she went to the hospital. And it was very difficult for me. I used to have major panic attacks, and I wouldn't leave the house, and it was a very difficult time. Very, very difficult time. So I don't know how much I tried to have as much contact with you kids, but I wasn't capable. I was really out of it. I thought I was doing well in the beginning. I thought I was stoic and everything, and then this just hit me, and I had no control.
And did we what did we understand of her death? Do you know?
Just that she was sick, and she passed away, and we
But
never
you
really...
you told us that she had died.
Yeah, yeah. You were not allowed to go to the funeral. Lois Vale took you out that day, the two of you. And then you came back, and then I started to heal. You know, it was a slow process, but I started to heal.
And so you then decided that you wanted to have another child.
Yes.
And because both of you and Dad were Tay-Sachs carriers,
Yes.
there was a very high risk of having another
It was
child.
1 out of 4, but it didn't have to fall in, like, it could
in any
have...
order.
Yeah.
It was random.
Yeah, it was random, so it could happen at any time, and there was no way I was going to go through that again.
No.
So, and those years it wasn't as difficult to adopt, but it was still...
A process.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so they were very careful at screening the child before we got... Yeah. And the nice part about it was through the Children's Aid Society. The nice part is that they included you two boys in all the things that we were doing. I remember you had to sign a sheet saying that you accept, that you will accept this, and
That's good.
yeah. And yeah, then we went, and they said they had a child, and we went to see her, and I was holding her, and Dad was walking around, and she never took her eyes off Dad.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't matter where he was, she turned just to him, and we said, okay, this is it.
That's a sign.
Yeah, yeah, and you came with us, and then when we brought her home, that was the day of the big blackout.
Oh yeah, that's right. I remember that.
The whole East Coast blacked out.
Just like we had a few years ago.
Yeah.
And how we would have been like,
She was 5 months old when we adopted her.
and we would have been like seven,
Six and
or
seven.
6 and 7.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how were we with the new baby?
Amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. Both of you adored her. Didn't know what to do for her. I was concerned because I thought, oh boy, you've been on your own for
2
so
boys.
long.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, both of you were so good to her through the years. Till you started teasing.
Well,
that came later.
Boys do.
That's right.
So, so we were obviously happy to have a sister, and so as we grew up, as brothers, I imagine we were somewhat protective of her.
Very. Very protective. Yeah. Yeah. But then you started having different interests.
Because there was like the 7-year gap between us, right?
Yeah.
Well, between her and
Yeah, that's a big, besides being different sexes, that's a big gap.
And did you know anything about her background or any
Yes.
like family history?
Yes, they gave us very detailed accounts of both the father and the mother's background. And there didn't seem to be anything in there that was questionable, Yeah.
So then we all progressed through school, and
Yeah.
and we started more of our adult lives, and then we each got married, and Randy and I started having grandchildren. So what was it like having your first grandchild?
Unbelievably heavenly. Heavenly.
Kirsten.
Well, we all enjoyed her
Mm-hmm.
because they used to come and visit, and we had a swing for her. And she'd sit in the swing, and we'd all sit around watching baby. Yeah,
That was the entertainment.
that was our entertainment, yeah. Yeah, she was marvelous.
It's a little different being a grandparent than being a parent.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Wait till that happens to you. It is the most amazing thing that you could possibly go through. Yeah.
And then you got the next one, Jason.
Sweetheart. He was a character, that kid. He was such a sweetheart. Yeah.
So then you had 2.
What a curious guy that was.
Yeah.
I remember, and I tell the story, I guess, too often, taking him for a walk. I guess he must have been under 2. He was under 2 years old. And we walked around the block, which should have taken like a minute. And 15 minutes. He had to stop at every leaf and every stone and anything that looked different. He had to investigate.
Pick it up and ask, what is this?
Yeah, everything. What's this? What's this? What's this? And I remember taking him once to Sears, because I took him out for the afternoon. And I thought, we'll walk around and we'll just, spend some time and I'll buy him a treat. We didn't walk around. Found the clocks. He wanted to take the clock apart.
Yeah.
He didn't want to look at anything else. He wasn't interested in a treat. I said to him, Jason, you can't. You break it. We didn't buy it. You can't do that. But I want to see what's under here. Okay, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's get a
We
nice
had a
treat.
lot of stuff that was taken apart at home.
Yeah.
Where
What a curious
He would go to garage sales and pick up
Oh.
stuff that people, computers or TVs or whatever, take them home and take them apart, and then we'd have to throw them in the garbage because usually what he took apart he couldn't put back together again. So
Yeah.
So then you had Kirsten and Jason, and then Niels came along.
Yeah.
So he was the third grandchild.
Yeah.
And
And we had the bris here, which was very surprising because, we weren't really.
we did Jason's here. Oh no, Jason's we did at my place.
At the-
Yes, at our house on Charnwood.
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
Were we away for the? We were.
You were in. I know you were in Florida when he was born, so I don't think you were back for that. Maybe.
No.
Yeah.
That was when Dad was not well,
Mhm.
and we went away. I thought we were.
Or in Arizona or something
Arizona.
like that. Yeah, yeah. But I remember you were away because I remember calling you
Yeah.
and telling you about him being born.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but Niels was here in the
Yeah.
house.
Yeah. Well, we missed that whole period about Dad being sick.
Yeah, well, we'll go. Yeah, we'll
Oh,
definitely
okay.
go back to that and talk about him in particular
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
So there was Niels and
A lot of that was Eva's encouragement.
A lot of-
The bris. She felt that even though there was no, she wasn't religious, she wasn't Jewish, that he should have that part, and when he grows up, he makes his own decision as to which way he goes, and he did.
And he certainly did.
He did.
And but
Yeah.
ultimately, Eva decided to become Jewish.
Yes.
And she did.
Yes.
She did, convert.
Yes. Yeah, because I think if it was up to Randy, he wouldn't.
Mm.
Yeah, they belonged to a synagogue and were very active in that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then your last grandchild is Aaron.
Yes.
The
little
tallest,
guy,
yeah,
the little guy.
the tallest of the group.
Yeah. The little Eskimo.
Yes, yeah, Aaron
Uh,
did look like an Eskimo.
uh,
So then you had four grandchildren.
yeah. And they're all amazing people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, you better. Yeah.
Really blessed with four just amazing kids.
Yeah, they are. Okay. Before we both start turning into blubbering fools. So I remember we did a lot of family get-togethers with your family growing up. In terms of Hanukkah and those, and I remember a barbecue at Labor Day and that kind of thing.
Auntie Rose's. Yeah.
Your family was very active, but actually, sorry, just thinking about that, we kind of skipped a little part too about your parents obviously passing on. Your dad, I remember, passed away when I was very young.
Yes.
And he had cancer, I think.
It started out with prostate cancer, and then it went into the bones, and he had a very rough time. Yeah. I was pregnant with Marcy.
Okay.
At his funeral. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you were really
That's
little.
very. Yeah. I mean, I do remember him. I do
Yeah.
remember him being sick. But
Yeah.
I don't remember a lot about him.
Well, he used to come and visit in Scarborough,
Okay.
and he'd come up here, and he just adored you guys. But unfortunately, he wasn't around that long.
And then I remember your mom then eventually sold her house downtown,
Yeah.
and then moved up here
Right.
into the apartments on
Overbrook.
in Wilmington,
Right,
and so she lived there for quite a while,
yeah,
and it was nice having her close by, and we're
Yeah.
visiting her a lot.
and Randy used to drop in on his way to school, because she would give him a quarter every time he went.
Yeah.
So he was very happy to see Boogie.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and we would have her over for dinner, and,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. But by that time, she had latent diabetes and also glaucoma.
Mm-hmm.
So she lost a lot of her vision,
Mhm.
had very, very limited vision.
And did she have to take insulin, or she had type 2 diabetes?
She had type 2, but I don't know too much about the details of that.
Mhm.
We just sort of watched her food.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember if she was on medication
Mhm.
or what the thing is, but that she unfortunately passed that on to us.
Mm-hmm. And then I remember, her towards her end of life. I mean, she was in, the nursing homes
Yes.
or St. John's.
She
or
couldn't
whatever.
handle being by herself,
Mhm.
and she didn't want to go to either me or my sister,
Mhm.
and she needed care,
Mhm.
so we had to have her in a nursing home.
And then ultimately, what caused her death?
Arteriosclerosis.
So it was
Of
hard.
the heart, yeah, yeah. And when she was in the hospital, she had to have a leg removed.
Mhm. I remember that.
Yeah, that was, and then shortly after that, she passed away. She
And how
was-
old was she when she died?
I think she was about 84.
And your dad would have been a lot younger, obviously.
My dad was in his early 70s,
Oh, okay.
yeah. But my mother's family lived quite a long
Mhm,
time.
mhm.
One of her brothers was 90. I know we had a 90th birthday, and then he was around after that, so I don't quite remember.
And then your great aunt was very old too.
Yeah, my father's aunt, who
Also
was
his-
the matriarch of our
Mhm.
family, an incredible Russian lady, tall and very elegant. She used to come and visit us when we lived on Crawford Street.
Mhm.
She'd come by herself on the streetcar,
Hmm.
and she had to be close to 90.
Wow. And Sally and Albert were older too? Or?
Lost track of Albert. Sally was, I don't know how old, but my aunt was in her 80s, about
Mhm.
85. And one of my uncles, who was always too sick to work, outlived his wife,
Oh, wow.
and he was close to 90.
Hmm.
So there were three brothers, and my mother and her sister.
Mhm, mhm.
Uncle Jack would have been older, except that he was run down by a car.
Oh, dear.
So he died when he was about 70.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
they were,
And then your brother was the first to go from
The
your
siblings.
The siblings.
Yeah.
And how old was he? He was in his 70s,
he
right?
was
Or-
in his 70s.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
and what was the cause of his death?
Brain cancer. Yeah. Yeah.
And then
And
and then
Ro-
your sister, also cancer, right?
Yeah. She had cervical cancer.
And how old
Yeah.
was she?
She was in her 70s.
Mm.
Yeah. Early 70s.
And
I
then
think.
there's their
Offspring?
wife and like their
Survive-
partners or
yeah.
whatever you call it. I
Yeah.
mean, survived them.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah, her